Hey, this is Matthew Harvey here with James, government employee Hartley.
I still am currently, yeah.
Hold up, what?
Oh, yeah, I work for the Air Force. I'm in the Air Force, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not here.
But it is a special government employee, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Till
that correct?
Doge gets to us.
Till Doge might cut the city council jobs.
Who knows? Like, nope.
Should have called you James Doge Hartley.
Yeah, well, I'm a big fan.
I made that up right now. We've got a city council candidate series, I guess we're running.
Yeah.
We put it out to the Leonard page for any city council candidates. Come by here and do an interview with us. I feel like it's 2025, and if you're voting on somebody you've never heard from, that's not acceptable to me.
Yeah.
I think you kind of have to hear from who you're voting for, whether it's on the national level or local level. And in this situation, it is incredibly local.
It is.
So we've got, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people running for city council here in Leonard. Alphabetically, they are Austin Brown, Zachary Elrod. How did they do that? Last name alphabetically.
That's how it
Went
goes.
straight from A to Z.
Yeah.
Raychel Green, Darrell Grintz, Billy Wayne Martin, Edward Richter, Peyton Webster, David Wilcox, and Charles Wrenn. Today we've got Zachary Elrod sitting right across from us. Welcome to the Siren, Zachary.
Hello.
How we doing today?
Good.
Good. Fair to Midland? Yeah.
What does that mean?
Oh, man. Where are you originally from?
I'm from here. I was actually born in McKinney.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, I was actually going to lead us right into, I was just going to say, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you're born, what you do, and just give us a little bit of background on you.
Well, I was born in McKinney. Family moved around a lot, divorce, things like that.
Sure.
I've lived in every state from New Mexico to Florida, and then all the way up in North Dakota.
Nice.
I've been in the Texas heat with 115 working outside, and I was in Dickinson, North Dakota in 2013. It was -30 with -70 wind chill.
Yes.
I still have that coat.
Yeah, wow.
It's too expensive to throw away.
Yeah,
So
you need one like that.
I've been in Alaska at -30 with a -56 wind chill, so you beat me. And most of my friend group, I've been the coldest.
No, I think in this argument you win because I was cold.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But once you get past -10,
it's all the same.
Yeah.
I survived spring break 2020 in Texas.
Yeah. It was pretty cold, wasn't
It
it?
was really cold.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see, what do you do for a living?
I'm a general superintendent of a staffing company.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
What are you staffing?
Mainly construction.
Okay.
Nice.
But we do admin and programmers and everything else.
How long have you lived in Leonard?
2019.
Okay, so
The
you've been
house-
here a minute.
Yeah, the house I bought actually was built in 1920.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah.
Here in town?
Yeah, no, I could walk to
Okay.
my house.
Yeah, I have one of those in Denton.
Or not.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
You drove today.
So I guess here, right, this is a little bit new for us. We've done this once before a few years ago, but really what makes you interested in, running for city council? What's kind of your view on it, and what was kind of the precipitating factor?
Well, first of all, thank you for your question. I mean, honestly, the real reason I got involved was because of all the code enforcement, some of the things I've heard that has happened in the past, different events, and went to a couple of city council meetings. And I noticed that whenever code enforcement would come up, a lot of people would show up, and then no one would show up.
Right.
And to be honest, the main reason I'm running is because they wouldn't leave me alone.
Sure.
Just kept knocking on my door.
Yeah.
I've got a 1979 C30. It was sitting on the side of my house. It's out of inspection. There's a lot of people like that. Obviously, if you're on Leonard Facebook
Wait,
page.
you get an infraction if you have a vehicle that's out of inspection?
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap!
You want to
dude.
know something funny? I know a friend down the street down here who got one. He looked at the guy's car. His car was actually out of inspection. The code enforcement guys.
Oh, insane with anger.
They don't see the dilapidated house that looks like it's from Breaking Bad down the street either.
Yeah,
Looks
like a trap house.
That one's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem, and I'm sure this is not a a problem that is isolated to Leonard, but it does sometimes seem like code enforcement is selectively enforced, maybe to the people who they know will make good on it.
I have no problem with code enforcement, and this isn't our interview here, but I do have a problem with selective code enforcement.
It's either all or nothing, right?
There were a bunch of codes that were passed in 2016, and they basically probably made the entire town out of code.
Yes.
If you look at it,
I would
like
probably,
right up,
I
like
could see that.
Like a law makes certain people criminals once you make it a law, you know.
Well,
And now that's you need to figure out a better way to enforce it. Is the biggest issue
I've got a couple ideas, but the main problem I see is that the code enforcement is outsourced. If this was the city of Dallas, I don't see that being a problem.
Sure.
But in a city that's barely trying to hit 2,000 population, a lot of the positions need to be filled with local people who have traditional ties to the city.
Right.
Something that matters to them.
I agree with that.
Because he can just come through, and let's say he wasn't selective and wrote everybody up for everything. He's going to go home and sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's not saying that he needs to be publicly held accountable for it, but there's not, it's just black and white. There is no gray area of understanding. Like the lady down the street who he fined her for her grass being too tall. If I remember right, her husband had just died.
Right.
And she was...
There's no local tribal knowledge to that, you know. Yeah, I mean, if it was Matthew or I as the code enforcement, you have some of that. You know, I graduated high school here. I know who's got problems and who doesn't, to a degree, you know.
But the flip side of that coin is, I've known him for all my life. I'll let him get away with it, and I'll enforce it on his neighbor.
Well,
yeah.
that's where
that's true.
That's where, as code enforcement, you talk to him.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, just let you know you are breaking city code. Is there something I can help you with?
Here's your
Is there
warning.
someone- Yeah.
How do we bring you up to code?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, do you need help? You know, do you need help finding services? You know, do you just need some general help? Like, what can we do to keep it that way? Because a lot of the code enforcement, they'll fix it, and then a week later, or you know, by a month has passed, they'll just do it again.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So it sounds like you would need some budget wiggle room to hire somebody to do that.
I would like to take a closer look at that budget.
Yeah. Yeah. You look interested in the budget.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Do you know anything about it? I know nothing about the budget.
No, that's why I'm so interested.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have heard a lot of things.
Yeah. They had an audit recently, from what I understand.
From who?
Is that audit made public?
It was the guy. He just presented it. Their CPA or whomever did the audit.
They hired someone to do an audit on
I
them?
believe so. You'd have to look this. I'm not a city council candidate.
Yeah.
But I did watch the part of that meeting, and that was
I'd be interested.
that was like last month or the month before.
Because that might actually be an area you want a third party.
They said they passed it with flying colors. Looks great.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Yeah.
So a person to locally enforce code and dogs, I guess, because that's what they do too, would have to come out of the city budget, I guess.
I wonder.
Unless there's a grant or something.
I wonder if there's a legal precedent. Like, do they have to pass an audit every 1 year, every 3 years, every 5 years? You know, like, I don't know.
That's a good question.
You know, something we need to dig into because there's
use this as reference if you get elected.
No. I'm keeping it.
well, because we've definitely had multiple times in the past in the city. There's been people that embezzled and stole from
Trustworthy
their neighbors.
locals.
I've heard that.
Trustworthy locals.
I also heard that. It took a lot of
people
by
that you would
surprise.
trust, and they just embezzled from
Yeah,
you.
like people I'd let watch my kids, you know, and
But
you're like, whoa.
there's a reason I want to look at the budget, because if someone was looking closer at that time, it wouldn't have gotten that far.
Right.
That's exactly right. These things are not, they're not rocket science. You know, a rocket scientist, like it can be caught. You just got to be paying attention. You know, and I think there's also a lot of brother-in-law type stuff, right? Like, we're just gonna turn the other.
Yeah.
The problem is, if it was 10 years ago, the city could, I guess, function on that mentality.
Right.
But with everything that's going on, which I believe personally is irresponsible growth, there's a responsible way and an irresponsible way to do it.
Right.
But as the city grows, that's not gonna. I mean, I grew up in Allen in the 90s.
Sure.
To what it became, you know, to right around 2019.
Yeah.
I watched Allen go from a very small country town with fields to 5 years later, I drive to the west side of Allen, and it's all stores that I've never seen them. They used to be fields as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess getting into like, you know, you have a full-time job. city council can sometimes be a bit of an undertaking. Do you see any conflict? I mean, couple meetings a month, and all the prep work it takes,
reading and research.
My current job allows me to have a flexibility in my schedule.
Nice. Okay.
Here's one you can probably field. We've got some Googled questions for city council candidates that we've just pulled, and we're going to pull from them for the next few minutes, however long this goes. But what are the steps you would take to ensure transparency and accountability in decision-making process, and what would that look like on city council? It's a good old transparency and accountability question.
I do know that if you were to ask that of a current city local or city official, they would tell you that everything is streamed and there's a meeting with it all. I just don't think that's a good enough answer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And honestly,
because that's the bare minimum from what I understand.
And I understand like the federal government being not as transparent. I understand even the state to some level, but your city, your local government.
This is the government closest to us.
Yes. Should be more than transparent. Should have full access to everything to be audited, if only by the citizens, to ask questions, because it's their tax money. They have the right to ask.
Well, and I'll leave it up, to go back to like the code enforcement thing, right? And this will tie in with transparency, but somebody's getting an infraction when that person's vehicle's out of code or out of inspection, right? The transparency, let me pivot. So as I understand it, when a city goes on like a boil notice, right? It's not good enough per the law, as I understand it. I could be wrong, and I'll leave it up to people to correct me here. It's not good enough to post it on the Leonard Facebook page, right? It's saying, hey, there's a boil notice. There should be something put in everybody's mailbox.
Text or email mailbox as well.
They do put it on when it's scheduled. They do put it on the water bill. I have seen it there.
Right.
I think they do ship it if you get the water bill in an envelope, which I do, but I pay it online.
Right.
They do. I have seen them in there.
Right.
But not all the time.
So a good question would be, what percentage of people get actual mail for their water? And that's how many people may or may not check their mail and may or may not even see a bowl.
Well, and how many people in Leonard are, even on the internet?
There's people who aren't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, how do they know that they're supposed to boil their water or not? So anyway, things like that. Like, we talk about being transparent. But like, if you're going to be charging people, for breaking code and stuff, the city needs to be held to a standard. But that's just my opinion. Let's see what else we got here, Matthew.
I will say that if I am elected, I would like to be as transparent as possible.
So here's a good question, actually. Based on what you know about city government, what do you see as your top priorities? Like, what would you like to come in and do? And it may not even be fixing things, right? It's just like, here's what I find important.
Well, the main issue could be that at first I wasn't going to run because I don't have any city government experience.
Sure.
I do have some college knowledge, but no college course can prepare you for trying to help, run people's lives. If I do get in, I'd like to spend some time with each of the departments of Leonard. The maintenance department, I'd like to talk to the police chief. Maybe he'd let me ride around do a ride along for 2 days. Maybe like the front desk, George, whoever the city planner would be.
Sure. Just
ride along with them and understand where they're coming from, because my perspective as a citizen will only be from my front porch.
Right.
I don't know anything, and I'm not afraid to admit that. And that stopped me from wanting to run. But then I realized everyone in there had their first time too.
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic
idea. Talked to some members of P&Z specifically, and they let me know that there is no education that goes into their roles. There's no workshop that they attend to know how planning and zoning board works. And this is just planning and zoning. It could be any board you talk about. They don't have, a 6-hour online course they run through. And the reason they haven't is because they have to pay for it. And that was unacceptable to me. You have to do it on your own time and you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
You're running for a city council position. Is there any education that you would take on yourself and what have you taken on to to prepare yourself for it?
I've been involved in politics, like socially, as far as
Sure.
the internet, the news, and everything else like that for a long time.
Politically aware, if you will.
Yes, and
Yep.
one of my favorite classes in college was political sciences, and I did very well in that class. And I know because I got a good grade and I pissed off half the class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the actual truth, and see him stare like and then everyone else kind of break down.
Yeah. For
If,
sure.
the way I look at it is if the citizens are mad at me and the town hall likes me, I'm doing something wrong.
Absolutely.
Because it doesn't matter what they think, it's what the citizens.
Right. And how, the citizens are your barometer because they're the ones that, they're feeling the taxes. Are they seeing the taxes go where they want to go?
No.
Right. We saw the other day on the Facebook page, somebody was like, hey, they tore up my street a year ago, and we started joking about which trail is this?
Yeah, I've heard that.
I live on a pathway.
Yeah, I live on a hiking trail.
You know where they do have new roads?
Hmm.
That new neighborhood.
You're right.
You mean the
real nice roads.
The one that they're on their third contractor with?
I guess. That's one of the seasons.
And as somebody, obviously, I'm not a citizen because I live outside, but this is where I live my life and do all my stuff. I'm interested to know what's been the problem there. Like, why has that been under construction for years?
I've heard of rumors. However, I'm not
Sure.
going to say anything because I'm not involved.
Right.
But if I am, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'll be
Exactly.
transparent. You ask me because that's part of the tax money. You own this building, you pay taxes on it. You own a home, you pay taxes on it.
Right.
You have the legal right to know where it's going.
Absolutely.
But you're gonna have to look for it. However, I'd like to, if I'm elected, to make that as easy as possible.
Yes.
We'll help you out on there, and we'll offer this to everybody. If you're elected, we have
Open door
open door
policy
policy here to come and tell your opinion on a decision you made, or
A
just
hot
to
topic?
get a hot topic, if you will.
Controversial
Sure.
hot take.
We'll give that to everybody.
Yeah. And I think that's a fantastic thing. The transparency thing is huge. And I really liked your answer about meeting with all the departments. I think that's incredibly valuable.
Just to get their perspective. Because
Right.
I'm not going to say who, just in case anybody listening, but I have talked to one city person, and they kind of gave me that route of an idea to go down. And it just gives you something. I lost my thought there.
Well, no, you said it a while ago that your perspective is from your front porch, and you don't know what you don't know until you really get into the weeds.
Yeah, because I don't know I don't know what time they wake up. I don't know what they do every day, and maybe they're doing, because my job mainly is efficiency.
Yeah.
At where I work, you find out the most efficient way to do something at the lowest cost possible.
Very Doge.
And
I like it.
I guess you're right. I just feel like there's a lot of ways that could be used more efficient in the city to allow. I can't think of the word.
Well, just how to optimize operations.
I was going to say it could be, running 9 to 5 full throttle, work, and there's too much work. It could be you're having a 2-hour coffee break.
Well, you
know,
could be,
quick
you
check.
could be 9 hours running in a circle.
Yeah.
You ran really hard, but did you do anything?
Right. Yeah. That's the point you wanted to make, I think.
Yeah,
I shouldn't
for sure.
say that. That's
No, you're good.
if you wanted to make that, you say that. Here's a good question I'd like to ask of everybody. Do you have any interest or participate in any professional or personal activity that could lead to or be perceived as a conflict of interest if you were elected?
No. Not at all.
You know anybody up there? You friends with people on the boards or
No,
front
actually,
desk, or
I think they don't like me.
they're not fans of Zachary Elrod?
Not like in a, from a hate perspective.
Yeah, not
Just
in a personal.
when they see me, they know I'm coming up there with a code enforcement paper.
They're
Or
gonna-
Yeah.
I'm the only one who signed up for the city's parking enforcement.
saw that,
committee.
yeah.
Only one. I've tried to get a
lot of-
couple other people.
A lot of people talk about it, but only one person signed up for it, which I think is a little disappointing. How many people do you need on it?
I think they said they needed 3 more. That's it. And then everyone who's had an issue with it, that is your choice. That's your
It's your
chance to get
opportunity,
your
yeah.
voice out.
Yep.
Because they're going to make a decision. If no one shows up, then obviously no one was pissed off enough to want to change it.
Right.
But if enough people show up and give their perspective and because they represent us, that's what city council does, is they represent us. They do not make decisions autonomous from us.
Right. Yeah.
It should be in the benefit of the citizens.
Right.
And
Right.
I don't see much that has.
Right. No, I agree with that. So along that line, your communication style, right? Like you're probably gonna be put in some positions, right?
Hands.
Yeah. How do you how comfortable are you handling blunt conversations and potentially a little bit contentious sort of situations? Because I mean, look, a year from now, let's say you get on, right? A year from now, you could have city council members mad at you. Could have some citizens mad at you. Like how comfortable are you with a little bit of professional conflict?
If you ever knew my aunt, okay, that one right there. Conflict is not an issue for me. I've been yelled at in the face.
Yeah.
And then also not too long ago, I had a health issue that's been taken care of.
Sure.
But if I got like my blood pressure too high, mainly if I started to get emotional in any way,
Sure.
I'd start to feel fainting. It'd feel like a heart attack.
Oh yeah.
So since then, I've studied a little bit of stoicism and things, and I've learned that how I'm not going to let someone else's perspective, like I can view it,
Yep.
but I'm not going to get upset about it, because if you respond with anger, you're not winning anything. The minute
Sure.
you start to yell, you're not winning anything. Once you pass the point of having a logos debate,
Sure.
based on logic, and you delve into the emotional, nothing from that is going to be productive.
Yeah, absolutely. You've reached the point of diminishing returns at that. Yeah, no, for sure. You read Meditations, Marcus Aurelius?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you should see my shelf at work.
That's cool.
I have a ton of.
We'll have to talk after this. Matthew, you got something else?
Have you had any community involvement in Leonard? Any connections to the city or?
I think going up there with code enforcement papers, that counts, right?
It's called vigilante community action.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the city sends me a nice letter like every 2 weeks. No.
Oh, you're on their mailing list too?
I'm on a couple of them. No.
I'm on lists. I'm not sure they're mailing
Here's
lists.
a fun one. Easy. Please respond with what you most agree with. Quote, I believe the city of Leonard is more efficient than other area cities. I believe the city of Leonard is less efficient than other area cities, or I believe the city of Leonard is neither more nor less efficient than other area cities.
Honestly, this comes from another standpoint of I don't have the perspective from
Sure.
the inside, but from my porch, if you will, inefficient than other cities.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'd
but
like to-
again, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So let's.
I always like to compare Leonard to Whitewright.
You know, I've heard a lot of code enforcement complaints from Whitewright recently.
I'm not connected in that way, but just looks-wise and situationally, they're both on the highway. They don't have another major crossroads really.
Mhm.
They're about the same size. I mean, the same businesses kind of have taken up residency in both. Spring. You got your Domino's,
they're
your
not
Domino's.
they're not going to have a McDonald's though. No.
They don't have a McDonald's. That's a crooked McDonald's.
Please tell me later.
No. It's physically
now
alarming.
I've
It's
seen that.
alarming when you drive by.
It's slightly crazy. It's just to set off all the people who OCD down
OCD
the highway,
folks.
Yeah.
start straightening their steering wheel.
That was somebody's practical joke.
But size-wise and kind of infrastructurally, I think they're pretty similar.
I'd say almost culturally too.
Yeah.
But
Well, same district, and I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of
the difference though
parallels.
is probably based strictly on the decisions that their local government has made.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Let's see. Sorry, bear with us. This
Yeah.
is our first time too.
yeah. We're just combing through it.
This is my first time.
Do you have any examples of group decision making that you've been involved with, and how these experience could be utilized with the council?
It's like a job interview here, man.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, it really is.
Yeah.
That's why I did this. I just figured I'd.
You know, I sometimes have to do interviews at work, and I hate these questions.
Yeah.
What have you done in the past that was a good team building effort?
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm walking around every day like, oh, that was a good team build. Let me write this down. You know, you can think of them, but you can never remember them.
There's a lot to sort through after.
I'd
years.
say I had some guys at the TI in Sherman, the Silica Wafer Factory.
Yep.
And they'd come across issues, and it seems like a lot of people these days, they reach a roadblock and they don't want to put in the effort to pass that roadblock. Just go through it.
Yeah.
You know, like get everyone together, and if we've got a creative problem, you know, let's say they're trying to install some telecom equipment. He has one idea, he has one idea, and he has an idea, and then I have my own, and it would be foolish of me to believe that my idea was better than theirs. So hear all of their ideas. That's another reason why I want to go ride with the city workers to get their perspective. Because someone has a good idea. They're just not talking about it, or no one's asked them.
Yeah.
There's probably some old timer knows how to fix these roads like the back of his hand the right way, but nobody wants to hear him talk.
Well, I want to say they went through a phase of having, and you may have been around for this, where they had all the equipment to do it.
And then someone sold it.
And sold it
I
off.
wasn't here, but I heard that.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of talk about it through the grapevine, and I don't know exactly what happened, like I said. But that was kind of the MO there for a little bit, was do it in-house, from what I could gather. And it seems like, you know, you get a new wave of officials come in and they want to do it the opposite way. And then you're stuck with depreciated, you know, equipment being sold for bottom dollar.
And he's on the dollar.
Yeah. That's from what I gather what happened. So it sounded like at some point there was some sort of road initiative, but kind of fell apart.
You know,
that's an expensive endeavor too.
The reason it probably fell apart though is because the citizens weren't keeping an eye on it. Yeah. And everyone, maybe other city council places, or city councilmen, I'm not going to say that they were complacent, but I don't know if they, you know, maybe ignored it, or if, you know, or if they found out and then became concerned.
Yeah.
You know, after they maybe have known for a couple of months. That's why I would plan on, hey everybody, look at this.
Yeah.
You know, pointing it out, transparency.
I've thought the inspiration on the road subject, the inspiration for the trails comparison, that our roads in Leonard are like trails. I mean, no better than what you might find in Moab.
Or Nepal.
The inspiration, yeah.
Maybe.
Except they're not a mile high.
Yeah.
The inspiration for that came from the road that goes in front of the elementary school, and I don't know the name of it, but it is terrible.
It's awful.
So and it is the third section to the massive square you can drive around, the lap, if you will, that you can drive around town. You've got Connet, which is I think that's considered a highway.
Is it?
Like a state highway. I may be wrong on that. 78 sure is a highway.
Yes.
69 is a highway, so we don't have to worry about those, right? We could do that one street. you follow me?
Mulberry.
And have Mulberry. Yes, you're right.
Well, on the
one street. Now you've got a real nice smooth, you know, trip around the entire town, and that and all the school traffic goes right down that road. You know, it's just like one of the busiest roads and the worst in town.
Somebody,
personal pet peeve.
I'm not going to say who, but somebody in town actually had a really good idea for the roads, but I haven't got to sit down with them and go over it. But their perspective is one that makes sense.
Okay. So you've been talking with citizens about
I may have not ever
potential
been
resolutions
on I may have never been on any government before. Well, politically like this.
Sure.
It's gone.
It happens.
Sorry, I'm nervous. You know what I mean? This
you're
first
fine.
time.
You're doing
my
great. You're
first
fine.
time.
You're totally good.
All good. You said the word initiative earlier, and it just made me think. I'm starting to dislike that word.
Did I say it right?
Yeah, no, but it comes with a lot of government propaganda.
Sure.
Yeah, well, we've got this initiative.
Yeah, it means it's going to go nowhere.
Yeah, yeah. Or
It's
it's going to
sit
steal
on
my money.
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
You know?
That's pretty much how it works.
Yeah. Well, we're coming up on the end of this. I think really we got this little sheet that we want you to fill out, but that'll be for later. Really, if you're going to talk straight to the citizens of Leonard right now, and what's your elevator pitch for why they should vote for you? Just 3 or 4 sentences. I like the transparency piece, saying that.
Because I only want to do one term, and it's simply to get a better perspective and maybe give mine in a more efficient way. And transparency, full transparency.
Right.
You should have the right to see everything.
Yeah.
And then 3, I don't know.
Sure. I tell you what, while you were saying that, it gave me an idea too. We talked to Noble Resources.
Yep.
He talked about how he was on, I can't remember what committee he was on, planning, zoning or something. And he said, people would get mad at him because they didn't use this pot of money for doing this. And it was...
I did think of number 3.
Okay, go for it.
If I'm elected,
yeah,
anything that comes across me that requires my vote, my input, any decision, 100% of it I will, 1, not make any vote or any decision that favors me and not everyone else. And 2,
well, fantastic. Sorry to interrupt, but let me give you an idea here too. And this is stolen from Thomas Massey. Every decision he does or doesn't make, right? Every bill he supports or doesn't support, he explains publicly on his Twitter, Facebook, or whatever why he made that decision.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something like we could post to the Facebook page, the Leonard Facebook page, and say, hey, I voted against this because here's my rationale.
yeah. No, I 100% agree.
You could always take to the Leonard page with that too.
Yeah. And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, but in any decision I make, if it doesn't benefit the citizens, it's a no. Simple. Now, if it benefits the citizens in the future, it needs to be from a responsible perspective.
Sure.
Not throwing money out the window, not putting more road on top of road, unless it benefits the people, whether in the future or in immediate, 100% of the time, I will vote no.
Right.
I will go in there Ron Swanson style and vote no on everything unless it makes it has to make common sense.
Yeah.
Because that's who runs city council. Simply, you just have to have common sense.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't have common sense, no, it will not. I'll be the only one in there voting no unless
that
it
leads
benefits.
me to my next question. We've got there's 5 total councilmen.
Yes.
Council people.
Yes. 3
council people.
So you got 4 people voting, easily together on something that you just can't get on with. You would vote no on it. You're okay with being that one guy voting no. Okay.
No, like I said earlier, if the citizens are happy with what I'm doing and city council is not, I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
Because I'm not there to represent or get in some kind of false consensus bubble with like, oh, this is the right thing to do. It may not be. And I'll hear their perspectives, but I will constantly be asking other people on my days off. I'll just, if it's an ordinance that affects businesses, I'm going to go talk to the local mom and pop shops. Be like, hey, just let you know this is coming up. Can I get your perspective on it?
Sure.
Because they're here. You can build for future people, but mom and pop are here right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they have businesses that have been functioning, paying taxes,
And will be
operating.
affected positively or negatively by these
Yes.
decisions.
If 7 business owners come up saying something against what you're proposing, you'd be like, I'm going to have to side with the 7 business owners.
And I will, because that's the majority of people who just came in.
Right.
The majority that sits on the stand, it doesn't matter.
Your constituency.
Yes.
The people that voted for you.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I get it.
Sorry, goodness. What I was saying about talking to Noble Resources, though, he said a lot of people would get mad at him and say, well, I don't remember exactly what the example was, but it say the street lights being redone. Well, why didn't y'all use this money to do that? And he's like, legally, we can't.
Yeah, the Leonard Community Development Board.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Whatever the acronym is.
Yeah.
There's, I guess, a legal issue with where they can't spend money on streets, is what he was saying.
Yeah, like maybe I could donate money, but if I donate money, it can only be used here. It can't be used there.
Right.
So I am 100% for that.
Well, but also like just letting citizens know that, like people would get mad at the council because
you'd see like waves of complaining about the new street lights. However, the roads are terrible. Yeah, it looks bad.
Yeah,
it looks bad,
but we can't use that money.
But with an explanation as to why that is, you
Yeah.
get less complaining and more understanding.
Right.
So that's where the city can easily squash that, and I don't know why it was never squashed.
I don't either.
It's a good question.
Just enable the citizens to understand how their money is being spent, where it can be and where it can't be.
Even the LCDC, Leonard Community Development committee. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a weird one.
Initiative?
They've even got their own page. Like they could have.
They should have
explained
an initiative somewhere.
it. Yeah, there probably is.
There's probably an initiative. Yeah. Awesome.
So we're about at the end of it. Give you one last word. I am going to say that voting day is on, or election day, pardon me, is on May 3rd, Saturday, 2025. I don't know if there's early voting. There may or may not be. Do you know where polling locations are?
I
Probably
don't.
be at
I'm
the
not-
Leonard
Vote? I don't
Baptist.
even know. Baptist Church?
Baptist
Yeah,
Church,
that's right.
yeah.
That's where they've been the past couple of years.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool.
But yeah, I'll give you a last word, Zachary, on the 12 o'clock siren.
When I first moved here, it seemed like community-wise there was a culture, there was some tradition, there was certainly a sense of familiar happiness, people that I don't
Sure.
know. But as time has gone on and I've seen some of the development outside of the city, I've noticed that people have stopped waving, and it seems like the community doesn't really care about their neighbor anymore. I'm afraid the Leonard picnic is going to disappear. I really honestly
Well,
am.
there's reasons for that. We can talk about that later. Yeah.
I'd like to bring some of that sense of community back. Like if I'm elected and there's code enforcement and there's some guy that's been giving the city trouble, I'm gonna go talk to him
Right.
personally. I really will. Honestly,
Sure.
you can come with me if you want to,
Sure.
and just discuss like, hey, what is the actual problem here? And give them a face to the city, someone to talk to, because you go up there and before it's glass. I can hardly hear you. Like, okay, here's the info. Goodbye.
Yep.
It's kind of hard to catch someone and talk to them. I want to be available and transparent.
No, I think that's great, right? And I know we said we'd give you the last word, but I'm going to piggyback on it. We love Leonard, right? So there has been a lot of tradition. Matthew and I joke all the time. We got out. I joined the military. He went to college, and we came back, and we liked it better the second time around, right? As adults, right? But it's changing. And how do we keep that change positive, right? That was the impetus of us starting this podcast.
Yeah, while holding on to that
small
traditions.
town feel. We know it's growing. So how do we more effectively and positively affect change in our local community so while it grows, we maintain that sense of community? And I think that's a really important thing. And I think
We've
it's
also
glad you hit
both
on it.
been very aware politically and are interested, especially at the local level, and that's where we can make the biggest difference for whatever
Absolutely.
that is.
If you want that, people are going to have to start paying attention to who they're voting for.
Absolutely.
And that's part of it.
100%.
Pick someone who will represent
And that's why we're doing this interview right now. So
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you very much for coming out. I'll give you
Thank you for
a
having
little
me.
applause there.
the audience loved you.
Yeah, good job. Thank you very much. Good luck to you, and we'll see you around.